representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed are greater than the legal services of other lawyers. I'm Harry Steele. I'm a retired lawyer, maybe not retired for long, down in Daphne, Alabama. I'm joined today by Brandon Mosley, reporter and content manager at the Alabama Gazette. How are you, Brandon?
I'm doing fine, Harry. How are you?
Much better today, I have to admit. And we're also joined by another victorious person. Did I get this right? Republican candidate elect for House District 96, Danielle Duggar.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I am the Republican candidate for the general election.
Do you have a Democrat opponent?
I do. I have a transgender Democrat opponent.
Yeah, I think you might win that one.
That's going to be tight.
Yeah.
Is this one of those people that can't tell us what a woman is? Yeah, I think you might have it.
I would assume.
He can't tell you what he is, so.
I would assume.
Is it a he that cut his thing off or a she that got one tacked on?
He, I believe, was a man at birth, but
he's a woman.
He goes by female pronouns, I believe. Terry, Terri, and Terry is also a singer. If you visit Terry's Facebook page, you can see some of his work, some of his songs, original songs.
Oh, alrighty. I'll run right over there to check that out. Okay. So you won, and I won.
And you won. Congrats.
Ooh.
But you're playing for higher stakes than Danielle was.
Yeah, it's kind of like the rest of my life and all that.
Yeah.
So this is the Bay Minette City Council. On Monday night, my mother, my fiance, and Paul Rip all went to the Bay Minette City Council meeting and pleaded with the mayor who helped get elected, the guy right there in the middle, Josh Brown. Please, all you got to do is listen to the audio. It's obvious Mr. Franklin's the first aggressor. Please pardon Harry and save him $25,000 for having this ace lawyer drive down from Tuscaloosa and charge him. I could have bought a damn Toyota Camry.
Nobody would have believed you were innocent if they had pardoned you. It was like, okay, this was an inside political job. He got pardoned. Yeah.
Well, they didn't even respond.
We went for a jury, and they just about proved you were innocent.
Well, I'm pretty sure that they heard what we all heard, was that Mr. Franklin admitted to getting up from his desk, chasing me to the door. That was the bad thing. It's like, okay, so when you got up after you told him to leave and he was leaving, you telling me you got up from your desk screaming obscenities, telling you we're going to whip his MF and A, and you caught him at the door and he just walked out, huh? Oh no, he attacked you from behind where you were chasing him. So how fast were you walking, mister? Oh, it probably took me 20, 30 seconds. No, sir. Let's listen to the tape again because it took you 8 seconds to get from the back of your desk till y'all are on the street. You must have been running while you were screaming. So anyway, it was pretty evident to anybody who listens to the audio. And then Mr. Franklin admits to choking my dog, grabbing my dog and trying to choke him out twice. And then the other eyewitness, Mr. Bellucci, never saw a dog. He saw me stomp Mr. Franklin, who has no injuries. So the real question is... He
saw your leg go up. I was there in the courtroom. He saw your leg come up and down.
That's when he said...
He's not sure what you saw.
No, he said that's when he saw my leg go up. That's when he decided he needed to intervene. That's what he said. And then they said, well, what happened next? He said, I don't know. Nobody was injured, so I just turned around and walked off. I don't know what happened next. Pretty horrible witness, wouldn't you say? I believe Mark Twain said nothing screws up a good story like a sorry eyewitness. Yeah. So, of course, we've got Mr. Franklin, who has slandered me. Then, my former, I don't know how you explain it. Brandon, if I went to work for a man and I signed a contract and he said he was going to pay me $150 an hour for all the work I did, and I did the closing of the mega site, all the work down here, where 181's been expanded from I can tell you everybody that owned every piece of property because I did all the condemnation for DOT. And then I had to go to the single tax colony and get them to release it because it's all in that communist bullcrap from 125 years ago. They actually own the land. So anyway, The guy who screwed me out of several $100,000 10 years ago then gets on the news and can't wait to tell everybody what a sorry piece of crap I am and how I've been doing it. Remember, Mr. Steele's been saying crazy stuff all along. So let's talk about the guy who convicted me in municipal court, Brandon. We know him, don't we? He's the prosecutor down in Fairhope. And he's the guy that can't convict the drunk barman who sells the judges used to hang out in there. I wonder why they did that back when they were all lawyers. And so now Mr. McSherry's bulletproof. And every time he gets in Marcus's courtroom,
it's hard to convict someone.
Marcus forgets how to practice law. He has a JD he's been practicing since 1997, but he can't convict Ronan McSherry. But he's my judge. I've been down to Fairhope several times and raised hell about him. Not only that, if I were an attorney right now, I would get in real trouble for showing you this. This is the bar complaint that I filed against him in 2022, related to 2 cases in Bay Minette Municipal Court, where the mayor and police chief got involved and blew up deals I had made with the prosecutor, and all he was supposed to do was approve them. But what did he do?
You would have thought that McDowell would have taken the time to recuse himself from your case, given that the two of you do not have the greatest of history.
Oh, and it gets worse. So Red Wilkins, who won the Chevron case for the state of Alabama, like the largest, single civil action that's ever been won in the state of Alabama. Of course, it was overturned by the Supreme Court, but he was the progenitor of this firm, Wilkins, Baxter, Bile, and Wynn. So when Red Wilkins dies, Marcus tells his widow, we found Red's shares torn up in his wastebasket, and we didn't maintain the $1 million life insurance policy like we did for so there's no money for you. So my scoutmaster and my mentor's widow had to go hire somebody to sue his law firm so they'd give her a thin dime. That's what kind of sorry sons of bitches we're talking about in the Lollipop Guild. So let's move on. Attorney Harry Steele was found not guilty, right? Steele was accused of attacking Matt Franklin at Franklin's business. Following the arrest, Police Chief Al Talbert, who has since left the department, accused Steele of having a documented history of aggressive behavior targeting elected officials, including making unfounded allegations of conspiracy and filing meritless lawsuits. Are we talking about the lawsuit that I filed against the sheriff during COVID? That, oh, by the way, who hoovered that one up? Judge Stankowski. The sheriff lied on the stand, said he never told anybody to violate the order, and then I played the video that he put out on Facebook proving him a liar, and instead of removing him from office, he goes, oh, Mr. Rip, you don't have a case. I've heard enough. I rule in favor of the sheriff. Yeah, so they're not meritless lawsuits. And I also sued the Alabama Ethics Commission because the ethics are something you need to take care of, Ms. Duggar, is go get rid of Tom Albritton, the self-dealer in the Mabel Amos Trust. I sued the Ethics Commission over that. It was not meritless. And Judge Griffin, the dirty judge up in Montgomery, threw that one out too. So you tell me if it's a conspiracy or if these people are covering each other's asses. Let's see here. On August 14, 2020, at approximately 2 o'clock, I got a call from Stacy Boynton that her daughter, Riley Carver, now Riley cleaned up and became my secretary, and now she's a nurse in New Jersey, okay? My longtime client on the path to recovery had been arrested in a drug raid in Bay Minette. I drove to the county jail, and they were not in custody. I walked from the jail Sallyport to the across the 2 parking spaces that are constantly under surveillance. They're the parents who can't get along, the parking spaces where the cameras are on it, so parents that can't get along can exchange their kids. I know this because I do family law. I know that I'm under surveillance when I have this conversation with him. So I see Tolbert getting out of his car, and I call out to him and say, hey, do you have Riley and Duke in custody? He turns on the spot, puts his hand on his weapon, and screams, motherfucker, you aren't coming in here bullying me around. Now,
well, there's a reason Tolbert has already been removed as police chief.
Okay, but at the time I was running, this was August 14, 2022. How many days are we away from the election where I'm running for mayor and saying I'm going to get rid of him? Days. So he pulls this. he has his little moment and he walks off. So I go into the police station where the girl sitting there behind the plexiglass is the city clerk's sister who I represented in her divorce. So I know Pam pretty well. So I go in and I say, hey, Pam, do you got Riley and Duke back there? And she goes, I don't know. They just got back from a drug raid. And she's clicking on her computer. Tolbert runs up behind her and screams so loud that she balls up in a ball in her chair and puts her hands over her ears. He screams, motherfucker, I told you to get the fuck out of here. So this alerts his brother-in-law, who's a lieutenant, fuck the nepotism policy. His brother-in-law's a lieutenant. He's been on the drug raid. He's in full tack gear with a helmet and a street sweeper shotgun. And my other cousin, my cousin, Jonathan Hall, who's a corporal at the time, he also is in full tack gear with an AR-15. And they run me out of the police station.
They've already removed Chief Tolbert. He's gone.
That doesn't matter. What I'm getting at is this is the complaint that I filed with everybody but the Easter Buddy. The Secretary of State, I drove up there, met with Merrill when this happened, before the election, okay? I went to A-Post. This is during COVID. You can't even get in the damn buildings, and I know enough people I can get in and see folks, right? Just crazy guys that get in to see the Secretary of State during COVID, right? So anyway, all this was reported. It's not bullshit. Just nobody did anything about it. So I got run out of the police station with Kalashnikovs. I filed a complaint with the City of Bay Minette. They did an investigation, and nothing happened. He remained chief of police for 5 more years. And this is after Matt Franklin gets elected in the same election, one of my best friends, and the next thing you know, he and Tolbert are having lunch together every other day. So there's the cheese eater right there. So listen to this, Danielle. You tell me how this happens. This guy was a corporal in the sheriff's department. Have you ever heard of anybody going from a corporal who's never supervised anybody and you make him chief of police? No. It was a political appointment. And political appointments breed incompetence.
Well,
he had never climbed through the ranks at the sheriff's department.
That's why he's no longer the police chief.
Yep. Well, because we had an election and the new mayor said he's going to get rid of him. And I had a good bit to do with that. So then we have Babyface Scully, who, if you just go read the transcript of what happened in the municipal trial and you read it to a jury, they wouldn't find me guilty. So I figured he would drop the charges, when we came up on the appeal date. Nope, we have the arraignment, so I'll decide to let my license go because, I can't really take people's money that need a divorce when I might be in jail for the months of June, July, and August when they need to get, when we're having a hearing. So I shut my office down. And, of course, he's up in Stockton with his daddy at Stagecoach about a month ago, and he's going around, and Judge Scully's introducing, this is my son. And they come up on Bob McMillan and his wife, and he says, well, I really don't know you. Is there any cases I should know of? And he said, oh, my son's prosecuting Harry Steele. And Bob says, well, I wouldn't be telling many folks that because I damn sure ain't going to vote for him. And they just kind of scuttled away. So there's lots of good people that knew before any of this went down. I kind of
think you owe a debt to Mr. Scully.
Are you talking about his laziness, him not answering the discovery? So listen to this, Danielle. After he loses the election, he calls my lawyer and he goes, holy crap, I forgot to serve a bunch of this discovery on you. Will you stipulate to these pieces of discovery? And my guy goes, yeah, if you'll stipulate to the authenticity of the audio, which could have only happened with me getting on the stand and then being able to cross me. So that was number one. Then he started with the voir dire, and Mr. Steele thinks he's really smart. Has anybody in here heard of his podcast? And then he brings up Whitney Scapecci, and of course, every woman in there follows her on Instagram. And it just painted me. He's the one that painted me as somebody that doesn't like the system. And of course, that was their mindset. And it was, like you said, I should thank Mr. Scully.
You should thank him. There are attorneys that would have been a better prosecutor there.
And but for the grace of God, he lost that election, was ill prepared for this thing. and he did a big nutcracker off the high dive. Like I said, we're going to win because corruption breeds incompetence. And thank God 400 people went out and voted. More people voted for him than Grant Blackburn. I mean, that was a miracle on the Hudson right there. Some guy that ain't practiced in 3 years comes in and beats a judge's son. That just tells you what everybody knows about, his abilities.
I was really surprised by those results. I like Grant. He and I, became friends on the campaign trail. He's a really nice guy. Anyone who meets Grant, you can't help but like him. He's a likable, kind person. And, but being there at Daphne Civic Center, watching Judge Scully and Liam campaign there, it felt like every single person walking up to the polls knew them and would shake their hand and give them a hug and say hello. Just watching that interaction with the voters coming up to the precinct, I was shocked by the turnout for Grant. He must have been he must have had more voters down in his neck of the woods in the Gulf Shores, Orange Beach area, because up in Daphne, Scully did really well.
Well, one of the hardest things to prove under the law is malicious prosecution. And if there was ever a case of malicious prosecution, here it is. Why did you bring this? Well, because Matt Franklin was on the council who was going to make the decision whether to reappoint me for 4 more years to be the city prosecutor. Do you see the problem with him being the alleged victim when he was actually the perpetrator? They used the entire system against me. Okay.
Yeah, now if they had somebody assaulted somebody. If they had charged Franklin, how much you want to bet they would have lost his vote on reappointing, them to be the prosecutor or the municipal judge or any of that?
Well, one of the things that Mr. Franklin alleged was that I was a racist. I don't know if you guys have heard the video, but of course, after standing on the street on the corner of the courthouse on election day, waving a sign for Josh Brown, being the original person who was already involved with the Otis French family before OJ got shot by the Bay Minette Police Department, right? I mean, can we paint with a broader brush all the reasons these people wanted me to shut the hell up? So anyway,
like they called Trump a racist. Yet, he dated black women in the late 80s, right? Early 90s. He's had black friends. He was one of the first country clubs to allow black membership and golfers to come in to the club. So it's like them calling Trump a racist. It's really comical.
Okay. Well, I said something else that might be taken as racist, and I'm going to explain this real quick, and we're going to move on. Not only did the jury see right through it, but they were out for like a few minutes still, told Lanyap. I came out, my lawyer went to smoke a cigarette, and next thing you know, we're back in the courtroom. Am I shocked? No. I'm walking around breathing free white man's air. So why would I say that?
Okay.
So I had a big revelation. I've been working on my genealogy for about 6 years. And instead of making Matt Franklin say uncle, I should have made him say Geronimo. So does anybody know the original name of the mascot for Faulkner State Community College? Jimmy Faulkner was obsessed with Red Eagle. He owned the paper here, and every other Sunday he would write a story about Red Eagle. So everybody around here growing up had to read about Red Eagle and how great Red Eagle was, and he was the official mascot of Faulkner Community College. So the surprise waiting at the end of my 6-year obsession with my genealogy is that my 6th great-grandfather was the first lawyer in the area and was the brother of Red Eagle, hostage of George Washington. Needless to say, I've had a pretty good week. So this is like me finding the Ark of the Damn Covenant. And so my grandfather that we talked about, Charles Hall, who had to steal the courthouse because the dirty-ass sheriff and the single tax colony were doing corrupt things, yeah, it's his ancestor too. So David Tate, his uncle was Alexander McGilvery, who was the chief of the Creek Nations, who went off to school and became an educated gentleman. When he went to see George Washington and signed the Treaty of New York in 1790, part of the deal was he had to bring his nephew back to be George Washington's guest. So has anybody seen Game of Thrones?
Oh, yeah.
You remember the Greyjoy boy that was the ward? You know, it was kind of like, yeah, was he like living with them, or was he like their prisoner? So it turns out David Tate was George Washington's prisoner, and he lived with him, and he went to school in Philadelphia and was educated in all the ways. And then when he came back down here after his uncle was murdered, the guy who owned the Patton and Leslie Company, does that sound familiar? It eventually became the Forbes Company. Sponsored him, David, to go on and to finish his education at Inverness College in Scotland, which is where he got his law degree. So when he gets back here in 1810, Osceola's come down, and there's the reason they wanted him as a hostage was the United States was fighting Britain, and they couldn't fight the Creeks. There were too many of them. So what did they do? They destroyed themselves with the damn Civil War. And then 40 years later, we destroy the rest of ourselves with another damn Civil War. So maybe we could all learn something from this little trip down memory lane. But yeah, William Weatherford of all people. So anyway, it turns out the guy who wrote the history of Alabama, Albert James Pickett, he spent the person that he spoke to many, many times over many, many years was David Tate, because he lived to be an old man and he lived through all this. So anyway, I found the Ark of the Covenant, and that's why I said that thing about the white man's heir, because it ain't my heir. They stole everything from my people. Maybe y'all paying attention. So, Danielle, tell me what you're going to do. What are your objectives?
Right now, she has to win the general election.
Objective number one, because don't forget, we've got a top of the ticket big name running as a Democrat, this November. So Doug Jones, be what he is going to mobilize liberals and Democrats to get out and vote in the general when they typically don't have anyone exciting to vote for. And the media is hyping it up and making people think he actually has a chance against Tuberville. But we know at the least it's going to mobilize Democrats. And Democrats sitting there with the ballot in front of them are not going to know who Terry Osborne is running against me, a radical leftist transgender. They're not going to know that. They're just going to say, oh, look, we've got a Democrat in this seat. So there will be a bigger Democrat turnout in the November in the general. So I do need to campaign, because I've got to curb stomp him. I got to make sure that they don't get a foothold in this area thinking, oh, look, he got 20% of the vote. Oh, yeah, I don't want to give him hope. So we've got to keep that percentage low. I've got to campaign for this general. And I need all the Republicans to come out and support me and not just sit this one out thinking we've got it in the bag.
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't like 4 years ago. They had their highest Democrat primary turnout since 2008 when Barack Obama was, running against Hillary Clinton.
Okay, so my point is, and I'll just read this real quick. Since the initial incident in 2025, Stills made local and statewide headlines. The fight even made its way to the Lanyap this year when State Senator Chris Ellicott filed legislation to provide steeper punishment for attacking local politicians. Elliott later told Lanyap Stills' case inspired the bill. So if you're wondering who all I'm going to sue, now that the criminal case is over with, he says he intends to file a lawsuit against, Mayor Wills for defaming him, local news stations, and also the City of Bay Minette. So, you can't arrest somebody for a misdemeanor that you didn't witness if you're a cop. So my entire arrest, filing the writ to have me put in an insane asylum for the rest of my life, and all the fake stuff they put in that. Yeah.
Because
yeah.
Matt Franklin wrote a written statement that's pure, that's just outright lies.
Okay, so let me tell you how the chicken's coming home to roost, Danielle Duggar.
And then I want to say something about that bill.
Okay, well, here we go. Matt Simpson, before the election, stands up and says, I'm suing whoever this pack is putting out all this crap about me because it's unfair to say things that are untrue about me. Well, my name was in your mouth and Chris Elliott's mouth and Greg Albritton's mouth. So all these politicians who've lost the election, get ready for your lawsuit, pals. You should have never slandered. And both these guys are lawyers. The rest of them probably get a pass because they read in the paper Harry was convicted in municipal court. These two guys are lawyers and know I get a jury trial de novo and it's no kind of conviction. They know that because they're lawyers. And they stepped all over it. And I must sue them.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, I think during the trial, there was one bail bondsman who said that if someone's arrested, he's probably guilty. So he would vote guilty even without any evidence presented. Of course, Harry's attorney didn't allow that person on the ballot, but apparently there's a bunch of political leaders, or some of them now former, state leaders who go by the same thing. It's, hey, you were arrested, so yeah, Harry stomped a guy in the street because he was arrested for it.
And the guy that would take this trial only lost by what it says here. Grant Blackmer defeated Liam Scully with 50.7% of the vote. Yeah. That's how close this incompetent clown almost came to being one of your judges. And I'm trying to say, this is instructive of all of them. Why did we have to create a drug court and a mental health court? Because when our DA was a judge, he got overturned on civil cases more than any other judge who's ever worn the robe. That's DA Wilters, okay? So we had to create drug court so he wouldn't keep getting overturned and eventually get removed from the bench. Criminal law is like 1% of the law. Let me show you just pick something. The Internal Revenue Code. The law related to bills of lading, the
insurance code.
What, just name it. They have no idea. They've never practiced. They all worked at the damn DA's office. They're grandchildren of who? David Whetstone. All of them. Me and Grant are grandchildren of who? Our Scoutmaster Red Wilkins. And these good lawyers who teach you. People are watching you. So, Brandon, you were in the room. What happened in Vordaer? He said, does anybody have a problem believing a lawyer? And one of them stood up and said, I had a real bad experience with a lawyer, and I never got any justification. I just wouldn't believe them. They said, okay, we'll exclude you. And then they specifically asked about all the three lawyers they were going to put up. And what that lady, she stood up again and said, well, Vince Belushi's a lawyer that nobody should believe a word that comes out of his mouth. Now, I didn't do that. The juror did. And why did she do it? Because she had a bad experience with him. And what happened at the end of Vordaer? Nobody asked anybody if I'd been their lawyer. So this guy stands up and he goes, hey, this is kind of a two-parter. I'd have a real hard time believing anything that anybody in law enforcement said about Harry Steele. And number two, you probably don't want to pick me because he was my lawyer 16 years ago, and I had a really good experience. He did everything he said he was going to do. And I'd have a real hard time not believing what he said. And he sat down. And all the jurors heard it. Now, if that is not divine intervention, I don't know what is.
Yeah, you probably need to send that guy like a turkey, or ham or
well, I mean, in hell, like I'd have to dig through 16 years of files to even find his. I mean, you know what I mean. It just seemed like something Scully would have screened out, right? He was going to let a guy that I used to represent sit on the jury. And, Vordaer means to speak the truth. So they all did exactly what they were supposed to do. Scully's just so sloppy that he let, I would have had to take the stand to say, this is all about my podcast and about my activism. That's why all these people want me to shut up. This judge sitting up here, oh, by the way, I go out at lunch, we break for lunch, and I go pull up on my phone. There's a Lanyap article where Judge Stankowski is accused of being involved in some creepy land deal with a bunch of lawyers that appear before him all the time. And he's sitting up there looking down his nose at me.
He did.
After what he did to the Ryan Peters family. And if y'all want to hear more, we'll do that another time. I interviewed Ryan Peters right after. Okay, well, I interviewed Ryan Peters right after that trial. And let me tell y'all something. This is why I don't care to be a lawyer in Baldwin County anymore. Here's the truth. Your job as a lawyer in Baldwin County is to hypnotize your client once the trial is over and convince them that what the judge just did to them was justice. That's your job in Baldwin County. It's not to present a good case. They've already decided what's going to happen. And that's how it is. And that's why I really could care less about ever having that Esquire behind my name again. I know who I am. I don't need anybody else to tell me. I have a classical education, and I'm very marketable. So who knows what the future holds, but you can bet your ass there's going to be a flurry of lawsuits.
Danielle, have you had a chance to look at the education trust fund budget and the general fund budget?
I have in the past, yeah, not anytime recently. I don't think I've looked at it since they passed it this session, but I have in previous sessions. It's ginormous. Education trust fund.
Education broke $10 billion, but now we level funded the general fund budget, which I hope is being overly conservative. But if they don't get additional funding into that general fund budget, from growing the economy or something, y'all gonna be in a problem about 9 months from now when y'all sit down, because you can't level fund a budget 3 years in a row because of the automatic step increases and everything, and the rising health insurance cost, and Medicaid, paying all the health care for all the Medicaid people, which the state really can't cut. That's something to really watch.
And, all those departments, what is it called, where, they don't zero out and start fresh every year. They just grow on top of what they had the previous year. There's so much waste. It's like, hey, we've got 20 grand left. We've got to spend before next year. They're not, what is it called? Zero sum budgeting or something, where we
zero base,
where we actually see what's
the peanut
needed.
Farmer did. Yeah.
And
what was his name?
Start over the following year with some of these departments. Instead, they're just growing and growing and growing and growing.
Well, and the odd thing with those departments, and what I couldn't figure out when the first year or two I was covering the legislature, what's in the budget for some agencies, it's all the money they get. Mm-hmm. Some agencies, it's a pittance of what they bring in. The money they make from their own fees and their own, legal settlements and fines and all the government revenue they have never shows up in the budget that they give to the legislature. This is just our request out of the Education Trust Fund or our request from the general fund. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the Secretary of State's office, under Merrill, they made so much money charging fees on candidates and on corporations that they just said, hey, we don't even need any money from your general fund. Sorry. And so, the state, the legislature is kind of limited on how you can regulate a fund when they keep, a department who keeps all their money off of your official books. Yeah. I had a long meeting with the late state finance officer, and he explained to me, of course, it was not the big numbers they have now, but yeah, hey, there was like $3 or $4 billion that's off the books.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. And, they do keep growing every year. It grows. I mean, it's doubled, isn't it? The general fund has doubled since 2003.
Yeah. I mean, I was there when we had a 1 point, pre-2010, before, the great, that 2010 budget, before, the Great Recession had kicked in 2008, but they got a stimulus from the Obama administration, which allowed them to ignore the recession for 2009 and 2008. And then in 2010, it was like, oh, hey, yeah, our budget's a whole lot bigger than our actual funding.
We're going to have to make some cuts. Yeah.
Yeah, Mike Hubbard had to really, Mike Hubbard, is crook, but that he got us through that was just amazing. I mean, we got all the way down to like $1.6 billion, and then they raided the Alabama Trust Fund about 3 times to carry us up. And then we were finally getting like $2 billion, and then we went from $2 billion to $2.2 billion, and then we went from $2.2 billion to $3.2 billion just real fast. And now we're flat again.
Well, there's also just a lot of waste in there. Like, how much do they spend a year on Capitol Journal? On the government
TV show, the self-promotion show?
Yeah, how much? I think
I don't know how they hired Todd Stacy, who does my job for another outlet, he owns his own outlet, and he still owns a private news deal, and yet he gets paid to do Don Daly's job as the host of Capitol Journal. It made no sense at all. But I'd be glad to get that gig if I could, talk to somebody at Alabama Country.
Get a couple million a year to keep your studio running in the basement of the Capitol.
I'm told they're going to get a nice new digs in the new building.
Oh, okay. Well,
we were promised really nice new facilities for the new press room.
Yeah, they'll have a direct tunnel then from the legislative halls down to the media room. It's just
they have that tunnel underground that they go from the State House to the Capitol. I'm wondering if they're going to have a tunnel in the new building.
Let me tell you a funny story. So in 2021, I believe, during the COVID vaccine mandate countdown, we were about to, people were being forced to take the vaccine or get fired. And the countdown was on. They were having a special session that was not supposed to be, there was no proclamation for them to deal with the vaccine mandate issue, but it ended up working its way into that special session. And we had a rally. There was a health freedom rally occurring on the Capitol that day. We marched around the State House, and we then went inside the State House to talk to our legislators. I mean, you had people of all walks of life. There were military members, dentists, dental hygienists, nurses, engineers that were pleading with the legislature to
lawyers who had to get a COVID vaccine to go in the courthouse with a sheriff that didn't believe in COVID in it. And so after the judge ruled in the favor of the sheriff, 2 months later, we have to take our mask down and step up to the podium to speak to Stankowski, and then put your mask on and go to the back of the room the other person can approach. And my clients are sitting out in a hot ass car in August in the parking lot.
It was insanity. It was insanity. You have people of all walks of life up there pleading with their legislators to do something to protect their jobs. So let me tell you, when we went in, we had hundreds of people there that day. And there were at least half of us who went inside to try and speak with our legislators. They were hiding from us. I'm not kidding. Not a single one could be found in their office. They were about to be brought down into the to gavel into the the House and the Senate in their respective I can't think of the well down into the House, right. And to gavel in. So we knew they were somewhere around. Couldn't find them. We searched the halls. We searched the offices. About 30 minutes later, right when they were about to come in, we see them all filing out, all of them, hundreds of them, 105 from the House and 35 in the Senate. They all start scurrying out of the hallways. They had been hiding out in the stairwells and in the tunnel.
Shocker. Okay, we were doing a podcast during this thing, and we couldn't get anybody to say anything. Everybody kept saying, whatever the CDC says, we're under government mandate. It's an emergency.
state. We are the state of Alabama, and health and safety has been interpreted as the 10th Amendment policing power. So we are the state of Alabama. We are the ones responsible for protecting the health and safety of the citizens of our state. We don't just lockstep with whatever the CDC or the feds tell us to do. That is unconstitutional. And these guys didn't have the guts to get up and do something about it. It was pathetic.
Amen, sister. Well, I couldn't have said it better myself. Absolutely.
It was pathetic. So I'm just so thankful that this is over. We're going to finally get some good constitutional conservatives in there. We've got Maurice McCaney. He's an attorney from House District 1 who took out Philip Pettis in his primary. Maurice is an attorney. He knows the law. He knows the Constitution. He is conservative. He's going to fight with us. We've got Albright now and Terry Waters in. Terry's conservative. He's anti-gambling. He's going to help us on a lot of this nonsense. The little establishment clique has been broken apart. We had some serious upsets that they didn't see coming and they didn't expect. And we're going to be able to hopefully have more votes against some of this crap that they try to do, like the bill you were talking about with Ellicott. Why in the world do we need a special class of citizens who are, protected, a special protected class of citizens? Even if you're an elected official, you're still just a citizen, okay? You're not a sitting judge. You're not the president of the United States. You are a citizen of the state of Alabama. You're doing your civic duty by working and serving the state. We have laws on the books to protect people from assault. We don't need to create special classes of people. We've already got a list of 5 or 6 of them in that law. They wanted to add another so that they can make it easier for you. Oh, you're harassing a politician by calling him out on his bad voting record? Oh, that's it. Criminal charge.
Gulag. That's what's next.
In that deal where Harry and Matt Franklin, whoever you wanted to believe, somebody assaulted somebody.
Mm-hmm.
If Matt Franklin, if the law passed the way that Chris Elliott wanted to pass it, of course, now that got stuffed in the Senate because they knew that was a bad look in an election year.
Yeah.
Had that passed, then Matt Franklin assaulting Harry, which I think is what really happened in real life, would just be a misdemeanor. But if Harry, just a regular citizen, assaulted Matt because he's a city councilman, thus, protected class, now you were talking about a felony.
10 years in jail, up to 10 years. That's
communist stuff right there. I mean, I've studied history. I've got a master's degree in U.S. history. I know history, and that is Marxist communist type legislation.
I don't know that it's Marxist communist, but it would be going back to,
it's the political class. It's that.
Yeah, going back to the Middle Ages where, hey, I have now been raised to the level of the peerage. And so
I'm untouchable.
Is more serious than if you mess with a commoner.
Okay. Well, I got to say one more thing. Anybody who hires Christine Hernandez to represent them in a court of law ought to have their damn head examined. I paid her $9,000, and she showed up to court without having talked to any of the witnesses or anything. She was pathetic. If you can afford this guy right here,
he's pretty expensive now.
You better hire his ass if they come after you. He's up in Tuscaloosa, and he don't give a damn about none of this stuff. And you know what the secret is? You know why I hired him?
Why?
So that the jury could see that I'm 6'2", he's 5'1". He's the smallest lawyer in Alabama. So standing there next to me, they're sitting there saying, so Harry stomped Matt Franklin in the head, huh? Really? This 6'2", 300-pound monster? I don't think so. If he did, Matt Franklin would have broken ribs and his head to be smashed.
Fractured.
Right?
You're lucky you didn't, stomp him, because no telling what you would have been charged with.
Oh yeah.
But once you flipped him, but basically he bull rushed you and ended up on the ground.
Obviously,
you could have done real damage had you not had some self-restraint there. And there's people in my family who, if they were attacked by some dude, don't get on the ground after attacking somebody in my family. They would do bad things.
Okay, well, let me tell y'all something. I've had training. Okay, I got my face beat in with brass knuckles in 6th grade. Matt Franklin was there, and then I took Taekwondo for a couple years, and then I've been in two or three little skirmishes that didn't last very long. I've never squared off with anybody in the middle of the street or in a boxing ring or anything like that, But could I have hurt him? Absolutely. So has anybody ever seen the greatest thing ever put on television? Up until the last one, the Mario Puzo's True Detective. Y'all hadn't seen that series? So anyway, you need to watch it. And there's one episode where the cop is like having a flashback and he goes, "Hey, I always wore clip-on ties when I was a cop." So the first thing Harry would have done if he was going to jump Matt Franklin was take off the unbreakable silk ligature that was around his neck. Think if he'd have grabbed my tie instead of my shoulders.
Well, the part that never made sense, if you were going to attack Matt Franklin, why would you do it while you're holding all your legal papers that you've done hours and been paid thousands of dollars to prepare and walking your dog at the same time?
Yeah, I had both hands full. Had a dog leash in my
both
right
hands
hand.
are full. That's not, you would put your papers down, you'd probably tie your dog off, and then it's on.
Yeah, except
that way
I didn't have, except I had no choice in anything. Right, but I didn't dictate this. He jumped on me, and the whole time I'm thinking.
That's what I'm saying. It never made sense them charging you in the first place, because if you were paying attention, obviously Harry didn't attack him.
Okay, so Harry gets
carrying his legal papers and walking his dog.
Right, but I get up and go across the street where I'd already been in the courthouse that morning, and I knew there were deputies, and I go over there and I say, "Hey, can y'all call me a deputy? I need to make a statement." So because I have my dog, they asked me to go back outside, and while I'm outside, I get surrounded by 7 Bay Minette police officers who have me in handcuffs in 30 seconds. And then they go investigate. And then the DA walks right past me and witnesses my illegal arrest. And then they file a bunch of fake stuff. So from now until the end of time, if you run my name on Ellicott, it's going to say, "In re the mental health of Harry Steele," forever. There's no way to expunge it. It happened. The hearing never happened, but the allegations are on Ellicott forever. You know what it says? It says I'm homeless. I'm indigent. I don't have a job. They have my driver's license. They know I'm a licensed attorney. They said I don't have a spouse. I don't have any next of kin, and that I'm crazy and need to be locked up for the rest of my life. Okay, so guess what of those things is true? None of it. And if they don't fire Lieutenant Stransner before Monday night, that'll be just another thing to add on to another log on the fire.
Every night when Matt Franklin lays his head down on his pillow, he needs to thank God there wasn't somebody speeding in front of his office, because if Mr. Rue had got hit by a car and died in the street with there with Franklin on the ground, I don't know you could have controlled it.
If y'all think Red Eagle was a badass, kill my dog in front of me. We'll find out. That's what Danielle, this entire thing has been a masterclass in restraint and knowing what the law is. Okay?
For sure.
I never violated the law. My greatest fear since giving up my license was going to be, what they arrested my client up in Dothan. Remember Mama T's that said they rigged the bid and everything? They just arrested her for witness tampering and practicing law without a license. So I figured something like that was coming, but I'm not practicing law. Y'all see what I'm doing?
Mhm.
And now I'm going, yeah, you're damn right. I'm gonna practice law, all right, pro se, and I'm gonna get my documents together, and then I'm gonna go shop them to the best lawyers in the Southeast, who are all gonna want a piece of this one. All right, well, Danielle, I couldn't be happier for you, hon, and I know that you're gonna go in there and knock Dr. Scott Harris's ass out, aren't you? I mean, it's probably not like physically, but
No,
you know.
not physically. No physical,
But-
no
but-
threats of physical assault. None.
Can we at least get to the point where the governor appoints the
Yes.
state health
Yes.
officer and not the MASA, medical, association of the state of Alabama?
That office has to be accountable
Fix it.
to the constituents they
We
serve.
were in COVID, and if someone other than Kay Ivey was governor and they had wanted to fire Scott Harris,
Mhm.
have absolutely no authority to do it.
Well, we know Kay
Well,
Ivey
we
can
only say
fire
something.
whoever she wants to fire. I mean, we saw that happen with
Yeah.
Kent Davis.
Right.
But
Just
had
make
she
it up.
wanted to, right? Did she have legal authority to do it? No. Well, that office has to be accountable to the constituents. The voters have to have some say in what's happening because we've given that office so many emergency powers, which that needs to be limited. The emergency powers of the governor and state health officer both need to be limited. We've seen that happening across all 50 states post-COVID. There have been numerous states who have successfully done that. And we've got to get that office to be accountable to the constituents. So either governor appointed or voter elected, one way or the other, they've got to be accountable. Otherwise, they do what we saw happen with no accountability. Nobody's going to come in and fire them if they're violating our rights. It doesn't matter. There's no way to stop them. And if your governor, if it is a governor appointed position, if the governor isn't willing to do anything about it, there has to be a process for the legislature to take action. Whether the legislature can call itself to session, if there's a way to, to arrange for that, a constitutional amendment to allow that, or whatever the case may be. I think the
I think
state
they have reformed the system where the legislature can call itself in session to impeach a public official.
For impeachment
That's all it
only.
is.
Yeah. Well, and I think the safest, most conservative route would be just to limit the emergency powers of the state health officer. They cannot close businesses. They cannot mandate vaccination. They cannot force quarantine based solely on vaccination status, things like that. We can definitely pass that. And that's what the people want. I've talked to 4,700 voters on their doorstep. Well, I'm sorry, take that back. Half of them didn't answer the door, but the other half that I've spoken to on their doorstep, just in my district alone, have said they're in favor of legislation that would protect people from forced closures and forced mandates, like the business closures and the mandates. And then there was a survey, a national survey. I forget the name of it. I can't remember the name right now, but it was a big national survey, and they surveyed about 80% of Americans are in favor of prohibitions on vaccine mandates. They are in favor of protecting the individual's right to refuse a vaccine. So this isn't just some fringe movement anymore. This is a super majority of U.S. citizens feel that vaccine mandates are unconstitutional and should be illegal.
Yeah, but Matt Simpson thinks anything that is mandated is just that's just how life is, man. That's just the government's in charge.
That's
It's
not.
unbelievable.
These people need to take a class in Constitution, in the U.S.
Well,
Constitution.
he has. He's a lawyer.
They need
He
a
knows
refresher.
better, right? He
They
needs a
need a
big refresher.
refresher.
He's a big part of the problem, and people lawyers like him. So I need to say one more thing. Did you get to know Kevin Brock on the campaign trail?
I did. I like Brock and his wife. They were both very kind. I think they're good people.
I do too. And
Yeah.
when he was accused, I was the only person that said, I smell a rat. I smell a damn rat. And so I would encourage everyone to go watch Backstory Podcast number 134, where we talk about and you'll see what they did to me is the same thing they did to Forrest Bullen, Steve Nodine, Van Davis, that used to run the police academy up here, and Kevin Brock.
Okay.
All
I'll
of us. It's the
watch that.
same thing. They make allegations. They charge you. And that's why I thought they were going to drop the charges before trial. But, of course, Scully was using it as a political tool because Hoss Mack wants me in jail for some reason, because I dare say his name and say that he's in charge of all the bull crap that goes on around here. It all runs through him in Montgomery or wherever he may be hiding.
As a candidate, I'm really surprised that anyone could run a legal case while campaigning. I had to take a leave of absence back in January, and really from April till the election, I couldn't do a single thing for work. I don't know how you could be running a legal case and campaigning that hard. It's impossible.
I was running
makes sense.
for Republican State Executive Committee member.
Yeah, did you win?
No, I lost. If I had gone to all the political events and all the city councils and everything, all St. Clair County wide, like you really need to do to win, sort of deal. I just got, I beat the crap out of the mayor of Margaret. But I would have had to quit working for 60 days.
Yes.
I don't know how you do your job and do that well.
You can't do both well. That's for sure. I had to just completely tell work I'm on a hiatus in order to campaign well. You can't split your attention and do both well. You're going to mess up one or the other.
Did you like how Brandon just showed everybody passively what a self-absorbed jackass his co-host is? I didn't know whether he'd won his election or not. But in fairness to me, I was kind of absorbed with my own trial. I apologize for not knowing that, Brandon.
Sorry about your loss, Brandon.
Yeah. It's all about running, man.
I was running for a seat by the deceased guy, and then because it was vacant. Mr. Thibodeau had died. We had never filled it. Nobody had qualified, by like 1 o'clock on the first day of qualifying. And so, I was Republican headquarters. Like, Brandon, just go ahead and qualify for that.
Yeah.
Because I'd been on there before, and I qualified. And then next thing you know, the mayor of Margaret qualifies. And then like 2 days later, the sitting circuit clerk of St. Clair County qualified.
Wow.
They were like running major politicians against Brandon. It's like,
you brought them all out of the woodwork.
Yeah, it's like, obviously, the circuit clerk, she's real nice, Kathy Burke. And of course, she beat me, 50.2 to like 30.9. Was that, I don't know what happened in Margaret. He didn't do that good.
I had a similar thing happen. I put my name on, which I should have waited until the 30 minutes before the deadline. I really should have waited longer, but I put my name on the night before the deadline. And by the next morning, my opponent, Matt Simpson's bestie, Carl Gustafson, who's one of my city council representatives in Spanish Fort.
We know old Carl.
Old Carl. He had put his name on top of there too. And I beat him. I beat them both. Matt,
I voted for you. I voted for you for that too.
Thank you.
And I put it on my little ballot that I sent to everybody calls me. I never hear from anybody until an election, and I get 400 texts. Harry, who should I vote for? So I put it all in one text message, every single race, even the PSC and all that crap, down ballot crap. Yeah. And text it out to everybody. So I'm sure,
Thank you for that, Harry.
Well, it might have been the 400 votes against Scully for all I know. Let's hope so. I'd like to think I had a hand in it.
Yeah, sure. I won my race by 157 votes for the state house.
The knife fight. That's what we're going to call this one. The knife fight.
It was close.
Well, you got him, and I couldn't be prouder. And I'd like to think we might have had something to do with it. Of course, Brandon is Switzerland. None of the things that I've said today in any way reflect the independence of the Alabama Gazette.
Yeah, Brandon does not do endorsements.
That's right.
Well, anyway, hey, guys, it's been a pleasure speaking with you again. Congratulations, Brandon, condolences. But I think, and hey, let me say this. Everybody that came down here and supported me, I don't know if y'all ever seen the TV show Spencer for Hire, but anything this side of criminal activity, call on me. You need the keys to a car and $10,000 in a handgun, let me know. I'll have it sitting in the parking lot with the keys under the, tire well. I really do owe a lot of people who supported me through this, and I know how Kevin Brock feels. Man, when it's your turn, it's just terrible. So everybody who hung in there with me, I really appreciate it. And the people who just said, hey, we're going to wait and see what the jury says. I get that too, because there were a lot of people who know me and know Matt, and know we've been friends for a long time. So it really kind of divided, especially, I guess, the class of 1992 from Baldwin County High School. 4 of them were there supporting me. I didn't see anybody from our class sitting on Matt's side. So anyway, thank you to everyone, and thank you, Ms. Duggar, for being here. Thank you, Brandon, for being a good friend and co-host, man.
Thank you, guys. It was great to see you again, and congrats, Harry.
Thanks for being on, Mrs. Duggar.
Thank you.
I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we talked to this story that I saw this morning. This happened this afternoon. I saw the story this morning over at lanyapmobile.com. And it's a story that I remember was talked about here at the radio station yesterday afternoon. There was a decision on the case with Harry Still. And Harry Still joins us now on Midday Mobile. Thanks for your time.
Hey, Sean, how are you?
I'm good. So I think I want to do this here for people that I think a lot of people know about this story. It was talked about a bunch, but before we do, can we kind of go back and lay out this situation of back in September?
Well, I think you have to go back further than that, and you have to start with Backstory Podcast number 1, which was 6 years ago in 2019. And immediately after doing the podcast about the sheriff's confidential informant that died by hanging himself with a seatbelt, I had that deposition of the deputy in hand for 2 years and had to wait for the case to settle. So then I thought maybe something would happen, investigation would happen internally. It did not. And so my security pass was revoked on the word of the mayor of Bay Minette and the police chief. They went to the sheriff and said, Mr. Steele has approached us acting aggressively and erratically, and so
it's the security pass. So that's what lets you, because you're an attorney. That's right. That's what lets you go to work, right?
Well, it lets you bring your laptop in, and unless it's 1975, every lawyer walks in there with a phone and a laptop, and you have to conduct business while you're in the courthouse. So yeah, it handicapped me.
Okay.
So I appealed to the courthouse security committee. They didn't know they existed, so they met without me, and Judge Taylor decided, we're going to do this to Harry and slander him. So I went about for 6 months not being able to bring my stuff into the courthouse, handicapping me and my client. So I finally get it back. And then the sheriff, we have COVID, and the sheriff, I can't go to work. But the sheriff says, that pesky little safer at home order, y'all just come on down to the beach. And if you die, Mac Funeral Home will take care of your mortal remains for you. You see my problem with it? So I sued the sheriff. So that got my security pass revoked again. I filed an ethics complaint against him, and he gave it back, and the Ethics Commission did nothing. So then I sued Tom Albritton in Montgomery County, right, for self-dealing in the Mabel Amos Trust. I mean, just saying that I'm a problem for everybody in office might be an understatement, okay? So we can start there, Sean. Okay. Now we can move on up to September.
Let's move up to September. And what was, because the way the narrative goes is that you and Bay Minette City Councilman Matt Franklin were in a political. Bay Minette
City Councilman Matt Franklin and I started 4th grade kindergarten at the Baptist Church here in Bay Minette. We graduated from high school together. We went to Auburn together. I dated his wife before he did. I was in their wedding. I gave a send-off party for his daughter in 2019 before she went to Auburn. We've had bigger, and everybody that knows me and know you that say, how you and Sean Sullivan don't go hunting and fishing together, right?
Yeah.
So guess how many arguments that we've had with loaded guns in our hand that were much more heated than any of this. So anyway, supplying the ointment and
so what happens? I think it was said it was an argument about politics.
Okay, so the owner of his company had a lady who had a terrible lease that was drawn up by another attorney. And they said, nobody in this county will sue this other attorney except Harry Steele. So let's recommend Harry to the client. That's why I went by there. I was writing a recommendation letter to a client of ours in common, and that was my business there. I didn't go in there hunting Matt Franklin. I didn't even know he was there. And by the way, my fiance worked at Delta Realty for 4 years. So it's kind of like somewhere I hop in and tinkle if I need to go in town. I mean, me going in that office is no big deal.
So what happened?
Okay.
So what happened?
Well, I go in there, and I have Franklin's the only one there, and I have a conversation with Mark Fournette, the owner of the company. He gets him on the telephone, on speakerphone. And when he gets done, the elephant in the room is I ran for mayor. It was 5 years ago because they got an extra year in office. And when I was running for office, I tried to go see one of my clients. It was 10 days before the election. So I go to the police department to see two of my clients that just got arrested, and the police chief tells me I can't come in the building, that I can't bully him, that I've told everybody I was going to fire him, and he put his hand on his gun several times during this exchange.
Now, who is this again that told you this?
Al Tolbert, the chief of police at the time in 2020.
For Bay Minette,
so anyway,
right.
He's the chief, right? So anyway, the new mayor is going to come in and change things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I supported him through the election. Mayor Wills is my dad's best friend, and Matt Franklin's dad's best friend. So that was kind of the, he's out, and so, I was kind of getting around to, well, man, Bob's gone. You're on the council. Are y'all going to get rid of Tolbert? Going to get rid of Scotty Lewis, or and he, hell no, we're not getting rid of any of them. Who would you have doing it? And I said, well, I don't know, but it wouldn't be the Lollipop Guild, and that set him off. And I turned to leave. It's 30 feet from. He's sitting down on the other side of his desk. He tells me to get the F out, and I just kind of laughed. Said, okay, thanks, Matt. And here I go for the door. Well, as the jury heard on the audio that they didn't know I had. He comes screaming out of his office, bum rushes me at the door, tries to throw me out the door. Instead, down goes Franklin. I put him in an arm bar and make him say uncle. And he's embarrassed about it. So I leave there. I've just been in the courthouse. So I go back across to the courthouse, and I go to the deputies, and I say, hey, and I walk in, there's all this construction going on. When I walk in, my shirt's torn off and my mouth is bleeding. And the deputy looks up and he goes, dude, did you get hit by a car? And I laughed and I said, no, a city councilman. But there was no animosity. He's like, I said, I need a deputy. I wasn't going to press charges. I just wanted to report it. So anyway, and I left out the part about him grabbing my dog and trying to kill my dog. So,
yeah, and I've
anyway.
read, and it seems like, but this has come up in it that he's threatening to kill your dog.
No, when he got up, he said, I'm going to kill that dog, Harry Steele, and I'm going to kill you. Cold-blooded as hell. And I'm sure when the jury heard it, they're just sitting there thinking, what the hell is this guy doing there as a defendant?
So what happened to this? Because, this is on appeal.
Okay,
and if y'all didn't hear, this is,
Sean,
he was found.
Because these corrupt people are incompetent, okay? The municipal prosecutor who lost this judicial race by 400 votes just did a nutcracker off the high dive. He was not prepared for this case. Why? Because my right to a speedy trial got trumped by the judge in this case, who said it 2 days after the election. Why? Because we all thought Scully was going to win, and Harry wasn't going to get a trial until September or October. So he shows up unprepared. He hadn't prepared Mr. Franklin, and my lawyer dismantled him on the stand. I didn't even have to put on a witness. And the recording that I had where he my lawyer puts him up there and said, okay, we're going to listen to this thing again, and whenever Harry threatens you or you feel scared, you tell me, and I'm going to stop this thing. And, of course, we listened to it all the way through. And I think the other things that I said in that recording endeared me to the jury, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And y'all, what we're talking about here is so Harry was found not guilty yesterday afternoon of assault.
Let's back up for a second. I was found guilty.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm going to. Because this was an appeal. This was an appeal.
In December.
Yeah. So I was going to get to that. I'm saying you're found Not guilty because a jury previously.
No, a municipal
judge. Sorry, yeah, had
Marcus
said
McDowell, who can't see, who I filed. Let's see, 2 bar complaints against, and I can tell you that now because I'm not currently a lawyer. I wouldn't be able to tell you about it, see, because everything that happens to elected officials and lawyers are a secret. You can't know what happens unless there's some kind of discipline, and there never is. So Marcus McDowell, after I'd filed 2 bar complaints against him about the administration of justice in the Bay Minette Municipal Court, doesn't recuse himself. And he finds me guilty, even though all of the witnesses recant their testimony. So how was I found guilty in municipal court? Because it was Marcus McDowell. That's why.
Did you have that same audio that you were playing yesterday? Did you
yes,
play?
Sir.
Even with that audio, he found you guilty.
And that's why malicious prosecution on Mr. Scully's part, who knew he couldn't win this case and tried to offer me the sweetheart deal of a lifetime. But of course, Sean, I would have to sign something saying I was guilty of something I didn't do, which I would not do.
In exchange for what?
In exchange for 2 years probation, and they with adjudication for 2 years. I'm just on double secret probation. The 2 years goes by, it goes in the garbage. But I have to sign an explanation of rights and an admission of guilt, which we call an Ireland form. And I have to write down on that Ireland form and sign it today to get the deal. That's what goes. And so if I screw up, they just go file my guilty plea, and we have a sentencing hearing. Do you really think I'm going to walk around this town with all the, pianos falling out of windows on me? No, I don't think so. And thank God I had that recording. And thank God for a jury of my peers, because, Judge Sankowski didn't do me any favors, and this is the 3rd or 4th time he's done something like this.
Now,
to my clients in particular.
Okay, I'm about to say not to you.
Yes, to my clients, which means me.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm making a living and my clients get a bad, our case gets continued when we have experts lined up, that kind of thing. This is the Ryan Peters case. If you want to look it up, 6 attorneys at Stone Crosby should have all been disbarred over it. And the judge reversed himself after he ordered me to go do a forensic accounting of all the money that was stolen by their clients from mine. So anyway, I'm just saying there's a history there. I'm just prouder of the people of Baldwin County. There are good people here. And, they're certainly not the people in charge around here. And maybe they'll wake up.
It didn't take long, y'all, if you haven't read through this yet, because the jury didn't exactly deliberate for wasn't any of these days of deliberation
They had time to elect a jury foreman and poll one time, and everybody must have just said, not guilty. And then they walked out. That's what we heard.
Harry, what's next now? Now you found not guilty. What's next for you in this? Putting it to bed or what?
Well, next is the request for an investigation into how something like this can happen to someone who's assaulted. And how, Al Talbert was still the police chief. The election had happened, but the new mayor hadn't taken office. He hadn't fired Talbert, which he promised to do, and some other things. So it was Bob Wills was still the mayor. And you got to remember, when I came back home from being the city manager, going to hang my shingle up, Bob Wills begged me to come to work for him. And then he screwed me out of $350,000. So if you can just imagine how deep this ravine is between me and these people in power around here. And, the problem is I'm Judge Hall's grandson. So I'm this and that. I am Baldwin County. So,
my question for you then, because you just went on this narrative about being Baldwin County, but what are you going to, you moving? You going to stay there? What are you doing?
Well, it depends. I went to see Judge Taylor this morning and asked him, if I get my security pass back, I get my license back, are you guys going to play tiddlywinks with my ability to make a living? Because if you are, I'll go be the best city manager San Diego, California ever had. I can do anything I want to right now. Why would I want to stay here and get beat up by Roscoe and Boss Hog? I don't know that I will, but the people on this jury sure make me want to stay.
So the next thing is this investigation and then giving your clearance back
there will be no investigation. Bob Wilters, the chief law enforcement officer, let me say this. I go over to the front door of the courthouse, and I say, I know you guys are busy. Would you call me a deputy? And I have my dog with me, so we went back outside. That's when I get surrounded by 7 Bay Minette police officers. They put me in handcuffs before they do any investigation. And do you know anything about the law, Sean?
I know some things. I feel like this is a set-up trap from an attorney.
Well, it's not a trap. It's just that under Alabama law, let's see what it says. Criminal Procedure, Section 1510.3. A warrantless arrest is valid. See, it was a warrantless arrest that the officer didn't witness. So my whole arrest was illegal. And then a lieutenant from the Bay Minette Police Department filed a writ. Okay, I make bond at 1 o'clock. I sit there till 4:30, and they tell me I'm not leaving. I'm like, what do you mean I'm not leaving? I don't know. You got to see the judge tomorrow. So they put me in solitary confinement in a filthy pair of clothes that are 2 sizes too small, and they wake me up every hour asking me if I've killed myself yet. So then they put me in shackles and perp walk me in front of the Baldwin County Courthouse, where I go to my mental health competency hearing. Now, if you can imagine how I blew that little girl from Alta Point butt out of the courtroom when she sat down to talk, I was like, listen, honey, I've been putting people away in probate court for 15 years. You don't meet any of the predicate or requirements to even serve me. Who in the hell filed this thing? Lieutenant Jimmy Stransner of the Bay Minette Police Department says you're indigent, homeless. We don't know where your residence is. You don't have any next of kin, except they called my daddy, who was dying of cancer, and my sister, who's dying of lupus, and said I threw Matt Franklin on the ground and stomped his head into the damn sidewalk. Now, if that doesn't just make you mad, Sean, I don't know what to do for you. But I've had to keep my cool. And I've had, this has been pretty tough, I'll have to admit. But now that I've been vindicated, I don't really want to tear anything down. I want to see something change. The judge that I was in front of, while I'm sitting there, I go out to my car, and there's a Lanyap article about himself dealing in real estate. Comes out while he's sitting on the bench staring down his nose at me. So, yeah, we need a new district attorney. We almost got a new sheriff. Some things are looking up. Danielle Duggar, a real bright light. Jeb Ball's no longer on the county commission. Another one of Hossmack's, constructs, I'll say. So, I have a lot thinking to do, but I can tell you I already filed a verified statement of claim against the city. I did this March 4th. It was the last day that I could, because you have to file something within 6 months. So anyway, I go file this at City Hall, and Scully called my lawyer. His name is Clayton Tart, by the way. If you can afford him, he's a hell of a good lawyer in Tuscaloosa. So he calls Clayton and says, hey, the conditions of Harry's bond said he can't come to City Hall. And Clayton goes, what the hell kind of a communist country is this? A municipal judge can tell a lawyer he can't come to City Hall? He can't talk to any city employees or come on any city property? It might throw him in jail, see what the judge is going to do with him. So, just everything about this was trying to, ruin my business, ruin my name, and because I know where all the bodies are buried, because like I said, my granddaddy was on the damn county commission in 1973.
Harry,
he ran George Wallace's campaign. I've paid attention. I know what's going on. And, the fact that nobody likes me talking about it, really no concern of mine until it starts affecting my clients.
Gotcha. And we'll probably have to come back to this at a time in the future, because they've run me right up here at the end of the hour. But Harry Still, thank you for hopping on today. And y'all can read more about what we just talked about over at lanyapmobile.com. This happened.
what's done when the day is done. Sheriff rides high on a promise he sold, but his truth's been bought and his soul's been told. He don't walk alone down that courthouse hall, got shadows that move when he makes a call, a whisper here, a favor there, and suddenly justice ain't nowhere. You can hear it humming underneath the street where power and silence meet. Oh, the machine don't bleed, don't cry, don't care. It feeds on fear and the deals they share, pulling every string in the dead of night, turning wrong to right, turning black to white. If you stand in the way, you'll disappear clean. Ain't no fighting back when you face their machine. Got henchmen lined like dominoes in a row. They don't ask why, they just go where he goes. A nod from the top and a life gets crushed. Another voice buried, another file hushed. They wear the loyalty like a second skin, trading their conscience just to fit in. Break a man down, call it law and order, build their empire at the county border. Every favor owed is a chain that binds, every truth buried buys more time. Oh, the machine don't bleed, don't cry, don't care. It feeds on fear and the deals they share, pulling every string in the dead of night, turning wrong to right, turning black to white. If you stand in the way, you'll disappear clean. Ain't no fighting back when you face their The district attorney signs with a steady hand, but the ink's been stained by a deeper plan. Senators smile from the palace stage while they trade your life for another page. County seats filled with familiar names, all tied together in a quiet game. Handshakes tighter than a noose can be, wrapped in power and immunity. And the victims cry, but no one hears. The truth gets lost in a flood of years, dragged through the mud till they break a bend, till the story twists and the lies all win. They'll take your name, they'll take your breath, dress it up nice and call it justice served to death. It's not one man, it's a web they weave, 1,000 hands that deceive, and every thread leads back again to the same old circle of friends. Oh, the machine don't bleed, don't cry, don't care. It feeds on fear and the deals they share, pulling every string in the dead of night, turning wrong to right, turning black to white. And if you speak too loud, if you're seen too clean, they'll grind you down in that cold machine. So the badge still shines in the morning light, and the town sleeps easy every night. But beneath it all, where the truth's unseen, there's a whole damn world run by that machine.
You better let go of my. I'll fucking kill her, motherfucker. Back! Get off my dog! Get the fuck off me!
Harry, that's fucking enough. That's enough.
I'm gonna kill that fucking dog, Harry. And I'm gonna kill you.